Before I start this video, if you've not subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, please click the like button, share this out through social media, and leave comments in the comments section. Today I'm going to be discussing episode 1 of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. It's called The Hedge Knight. And for a little background, we're about 209 AC. That is 89 years before the events of Game of Thrones and 77 years after the events of House of the Dragon. The main character is Sir Duncan the Tall, who was Lord Commander of the King's Guard under Aegon V. He gets a couple mentions during Game of Thrones. The most prominent one is during season 4, and I believe it is episode 1, where Joffrey is flipping through the Book of Brothers, and he comes across the entry for Sir Duncan the Tall, and it's like 4 pages long, all the deeds that Sir Duncan did during his life. And then he scrolls to his Uncle Father's entry and quips that someone's forgotten to enter all of Sir Jaime's deeds in the Book of Brothers. And this is obviously a mocking thing. Another thing that I need to mention is Daeron II is currently sitting on the Iron Throne, and the dragons have gone extinct, as well as the mistake of the Targaryens. So Targaryens are trying to assert themselves and show that they're still the powerhouse. So they're going around even to these small tournaments and participating to remind everyone in the Seven Kingdoms that, hey, we're still the prominent family in Westeros. And the episode actually starts off with Sir Duncan. I am not going to call him Dunk, because every time I hear the word Dunk, all I can think of is the guy from Crocodile Dundee, the rugby player with no front teeth. And that's just disturbing. So I will be calling him Sir Duncan throughout this, even though he's calling himself Dunk. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Sir Duncan is burying Sir Allen of Pennytree. He doesn't know the words. He wishes that a Sutton was there to say the correct words. He basically says that Sir Arlen was a true knight and that he only beat him when he deserved it. And you get several flashbacks of Arlen slapping around a young Sir Duncan. After he's done burying Sir Arlen, Sir Duncan sits around for a while and contemplates what to do. Actually, one of the things which was very unknightly in my opinion, he contemplated selling off his 3 horses. Something else that kind of bothered me, the horses are really nice, especially the white one he rides. And I would figure that a Hedge Knight would not have such nice steeds, that they'd be more mangy and old and not in as good a shape. So I thought that was just a bit unrealistic. Anyways, after some contemplating, Sir Duncan decides that he's going to head to the tournament in Ashford Meadows, hopefully to gain some coin there and eat some food. And then they cue in the theme of Game of Thrones after he's made this decision. And the next thing you know, he is taking a rather explosive dump behind a tree. And I think what this meant is that they were kind of dumping on Game of Thrones, at least the way Game of Thrones ended. My wife was almost turned off by this. She doesn't appreciate bathroom humor like men do. But she hung in there, and surprisingly, she actually liked this episode. But continuing on, Sir Duncan rides to this inn, and he comes in, and there is only the woman. Now, let me back up. Actually, when he gets to the inn, he's greeted by a young bald child, and he's the stable boy. So Duncan hands him his 3 horses, tells him to take care of them, and he'll pay them if he does a good job. He goes inside, and the only 2 people in the inn are a passed out drunk and the innkeeper, who is female. He decides that he's going to eat the lamb and the duck, both the things on the menu, which the innkeeper quips back, "I'm not surprised." After a little bit, the drunk wakes up, takes a look at Sir Duncan, and says, "I know who you are. Stay away from me." I believe that was the quote. It may not be 100%, but he's definitely rattled by Sir Duncan, and he puts a Targaryen coin down and then goes upstairs, obviously to pay for all the drinking he had done, and he staggers off. We don't see it, but off screen, I'm assuming that Sir Duncan finishes his meal. He goes out to check on his animals, his horses, and to gear up so he can continue heading to Ashford Meadows. And he finds the boy on one of his horses playing knight with the helmet and part of his mail. He scolds the boy for it. There's a dialogue that goes on, but the highlights of it is the stable boy says he doesn't look like a knight, and the stable boy actually wants to accompany Sir Duncan when he finds out that he's headed to the tournament, and Sir Duncan basically says no, and the stable boy says in return, "Well, every knight needs a squire, you more than most." That's one smart aleck kid. The scene ends with Duncan leaving a coin for the stable boy and rides off. And now I'm going to get into some spoilers. So if you want to fast forward ahead, I'm technically retarded. So instead of having something streaming or some little thing up, I'm just going to hold up the sign that says spoilers. And when I drop the sign, if you're fast forwarding, that means I'll be done with spoilers. All right, the drunk in the inn is actually Daeron the Drunk, who is also called Daeron the Dreamer. He is rattled by Sir Duncan because he had a dream that a dragon fell from the sky and fell on Sir Duncan, and Sir Duncan walks away from basically being crushed by the dragon, and the dragon dies. And since there are no dragons left in Westeros, Daeron interprets this as Sir Duncan is going to kill one of the Targaryens. And Daeron the Drunk is a Targaryen. And he's also called Daeron the Dreamer because he has dragon dreams. And I don't remember which season, but Aemon Targaryen, who is the maester for Castle Black and the oh god, I forgot what they are. The Night's Watch. He mentions that Daeron was basically rather bothered by all his dragon dreams throughout his life. He was very disturbed, which kind of explains why he's a drunkard. That all kind of makes sense. The young stable boy is not a stable boy at all. He is actually Aegon, Targaryen, and he is the younger brother of Daeron the Drunk. And Daeron is actually heading to the tourney, and the original plan was for Aegon to be Daeron's squire, but Daeron changes his mind, shaves his younger brother's head so he can be in disguise, and plans to leave him as the stable boy at the end while he goes off and fights in the tourney. Aegon is actually going to have a different idea about this. Anyway, Aegon eventually becomes Aegon the Fifth, who I already mentioned was the ruler during Sir Duncan the Tall being Lord Commander of the King's Guard. So now you see how these two people connect. Eventually, Aegon the Fifth becomes the King of Westeros, and Duncan the Tall becomes his Lord Commander of the King's Guard, one of his most trusted members. I believe that's all I've got for now, so we'll drop the spoiler sign. And now we'll go back to Duncan. He rides for a while, and then he arrives in Ashford Meadows. And just a small comment, I believe this was all shot in Ireland, and Ireland is just as gorgeous as I've heard. It is beautiful country. The cinematography is just great, in my opinion. And when Sir Duncan arrives, he wanders around until he finds some guards who tell him where the masters of the games are, because he has to sign up if he's going to be in the tournament. So he goes up there and he walks into the master of the games chamber and hits his head because he's significantly taller than the average person in Westeros, and apparently he can't remember the duck. Just a small thing. Sir Duncan is definitely not the sharpest sword in the armory. I wouldn't say he's like retarded or anything, but he's a bit of a dullard. But he's admirable from the standpoint of he seems pretty uncompromising, which was something lacking in Game of Thrones. There were very few characters, and most of them ended up dying because they were uncompromising. So it's kind of refreshing that there's a character that is uncompromising that you pretty much know is going to make it to the end, because I've already told you that he was Lord Commander for Aegon the Fifth. The Master of the Games is not convinced completely that Sir Duncan is a knight because there are no witnesses. So Sir Duncan is going to have to find someone to vouch for him. He did see the Dundarian banner when he was wandering through, and the master of the games tells Sir Duncan that Sir Manfred is here, which was the son of a lord that Sir Arlen had served under, and Sir Duncan believes that Sir Manfred will remember them. The game master also, or master of games, also reminds Sir Duncan that if you lose, you have to ransom back your horse, your sword, and your armor. So if you lose a joust, you lose all those items to the victor. And you need coin to ransom them back. If not, well, you don't get your stuff back. And he The master of games asks Sir Duncan if he has any money, and Sir Duncan says, well, I won't need any money. And he turns around to leave the chamber, and he hits his head again. Like I said, not the sharpest sword in the armory. He heads off to find Sir Manfred's tent, and he comes across knights practicing for the tournament. In particular, he comes across Stefan and his younger cousin Raymond Fossaway, and basically Stefan is beating the crap out of Raymond. So Duncan apparently makes eye contact with Stefan, and Stefan says, you want to have a go? You want to fight me? And Raymond basically tries to egg Sir Duncan on and basically almost begs him to fight Sir Stefan, but Sir Duncan declines. I don't know if this was unintentional intelligence or if he's a little bit more shrewd maybe than I realized, but it was actually smart not to fight Sir Stefan, because a lot of the knights would have saw this, and let's say Sir Duncan basically trashes Sir Stefan. Okay, there's no mystery left here. And a lot of the knights are going to be wary of Sir Duncan once the tournament starts. They're going to be wary of him. They're going to realize that this guy can fight. By not practicing with Sir Stefan, Sir Duncan is basically a mystery. And if Sir Stefan is the average knight that's in this tournament, they're arrogant and they're going to underestimate him, which will be an advantage for Sir Duncan probably in the first couple of jousts. These people are going to underestimate him, and he should win the first couple of jousts just by surprise, basically. Sir Duncan eventually makes it to Sir Manfred's tent, except Sir Manfred is currently out because he's having a problem with gout, and he is not informed by guards or anyone else. He is informed by two whores sitting outside of the tent. They kind of make some jokes about Sir Duncan. They kind of beat him down a little because he's not very swift. And Sir Duncan asks when the whores think that Sir Manfred will be awake, and they tell him probably not till evening. And that's when Sir Duncan says he'll return during the evening. And Sir Duncan decides to camp outside, and he goes completely out of the area for the tournament. I think this was kind of foolish. He finds a tree near a river. He bathes and stuff like that, except he's not doing a very good job. He tries to wash his clothes still stink. He ties the two horses up to the tree. I thought this was stupid. Horses were very valuable back then. Leaving them unguarded just seems foolish to me. But he rides back in, finds out that Sir Manfred is still out, and follows one of the whores into their tent where they're making up a whore to look dead. I'm not sure exactly what that was for. Again, the whores take some shots at him for being a Green Knight. And, Sir Duncan basically says, there's no reason for you people to be mean. I'm not being mean to you. And actually, one of the whores does apologize for it. Sir Duncan then proceeds to wander around the camp some more, comes upon this tent where there's a puppet show going on of a knight fighting a dragon. And this woman, I believe her name is Tansel, is narrating it. And her and Duncan definitely lock eyes at some point, and some smiles are exchanged. So there seems to be a little bit of attraction there. I guess we'll see how things go in future episodes. When he comes back out of the tent after the puppet show's over, he runs into Raymond Fossaway, who apologizes for trying to egg Duncan on to fight his cousin earlier, and then asks, I believe he asks if he's hungry. Of course, Duncan's practically always hungry. So Raymond gets him into the tent of Lionel Baratheon. Yes, those Baratheons. And there's just all sorts of stuff going on. As far as Sir Duncan's concerned, it's food. He sits down. They plop this big leg of mutton, I believe, in front of him. And I bet he inhaled the whole thing, though we don't see it. A little bit later, Sir Duncan is munching on a donut, and no, that would not be out of place for the time. Donuts did exist. Actually, Able Skeevers were made in like the Dark Ages by Vikings. Able Skeevers are kind of Danish donuts. They're round, but they're kind of like large donut holes. But it wouldn't be unusual to have donuts in medieval times. At this point, while he's eating his donut, one of the staff for Lionel Baratheon summons Sir Duncan over, and Lionel begins to quiz or interrogate Sir Duncan. I think he's taking a measure of him. It's kind of done jokingly, but at the same time, there's some definite directness to it. Like, he asks him what he's doing there. You know, are you here to ask me a favor? Are you here to kill me? Because that's the only two things that Sir Lionel could think of a person being there for. And basically, Sir Duncan eventually admits that he was there for the food, which is kind of amusing to Sir Lionel. And he kind of goes, oh, of course. And Sir Lionel also tells Sir Duncan to stand up. He said, the gods made you tall, so you should be tall. And I guess that's where we get Sir Duncan the Tall from. Anyways, so Sir Lionel asks Sir Duncan if he dances, and he kind of goes out onto the dance floor. Sir Duncan does, and does the Trump dance or something close to it. It was kind of silly. And at which point Lionel Baratheon comes up to him, stomps him on the foot really hard, tries to do it a second time and misses, and continues to do this while Sir Duncan avoids him. They're kind of dancing around the dance floor, and Lionel Baratheon is unable to stomp on Sir Duncan's foot, but Sir Duncan eventually is able to basically smash Lionel Baratheon's foot. Lionel actually leans in for a moment to Sir Duncan and kind of is in pain, and then eventually looks up at him and smiles and kind of sticks his tongue out, and then continues to dance around. After it's all over, Lionel and Sir Duncan are talking, and Sir Duncan basically confides in him that he's worried about the tournament, and asks if Sir Lionel has any advice for him. And Sir Lionel says, "No, I don't have any advice, and I'm drunk." By the way, the little dance thing, it actually was a test. It wasn't something silly. This was very, very clever, I feel, of Lionel. Again, trying to take Sir Duncan's measure. What it showed is that Sir Duncan does have dexterity. He does have good reaction time. And he has good footwork, which is very important for a swordsman. And now Lionel Baratheon knows that he isn't just a big brute that's going to try and hack everyone. Sir Duncan has skills as a swordsman. After Lionel Baratheon gets up and leaves, Sir Duncan finds and spots Sir Manfred. So he follows Sir Manfred out of the tent, says, do you remember, can you vouch for me? You have to remember Sir Arlen. He took an arrow for your father. And basically Sir Manfred says, listen, hundreds of men have gotten hurt for my father, and my father and I probably don't remember any of them. He's kind of a jerk about the whole thing. And that kind of leaves Sir Duncan out to dry. He doesn't have anyone who can vouch for him at this time. It's really late, so Sir Duncan goes back to his camp, and he finds the stable boy there. And he asks the stable boy, Sir Duncan asks the stable boy how he got there, and he said the stable boy says, well, I rode on a lamb cart. So he basically stowed away. The stable boy has groomed the horses. He's done a better job of washing all his clothes. He's made a fire. He's caught a fish. He's cooking the fish. He said he would have set up Sir Duncan's pavilion, but he couldn't find one, and that's because Sir Duncan doesn't have a pavilion. That's their tent. At this point, after a little bit more of a conversation, Sir Duncan relents and agrees to have the stable boy be his squire for the tournament, and says that if you continue to do a good job, listen, I can feed you and clothe you, but I can't do much more. But if you do your job, I'll promise to do those things. You can be my squire. Not just for the tournament, but moving forward. They do their introductions. The stable boy introduces himself as Egg, and Sir Duncan introduces himself as Sir Duncan the Tall, and actually stands up from his slouch when he says it. So he gets himself the vertical. The last scene is the two of them sleeping under the tree. They're looking up at the stars, and they see a shooting star. And Egg says, well, that's a good sign. It's good luck. At first, Sir Duncan kind of brushes it off as like, yeah, sure. But then he goes, well, we were the only ones that saw it, right? Because everybody else is in their tents. And that's kind of like how the episode ends. I thought it was a good start. We got a good introduction to the characters. I like most of the characters. There are some assholes. I think Lionel Baratheon is a lot more than he showed us in this episode. I think he's a very smart person. I think we're going to find that out. He's not the fool he pretended to be in this episode. That's just my read on him. Obviously, Egg, I think, is more than what he says. Interesting, they found somebody that had an egg-shaped head to go with that. I thought the person playing Egg, the young man, did a great job. I like the snarkiness. I like the guy playing Sir Duncan. I think this is off to a great start. And in particular, I like that this is kind of street level. You don't have all the intrigue battles and all that stuff. It's a street level adventure. It's going to be a little bit more lighthearted. You're going to have jokes in here. Um, and I think it's a good um, switch up from what we've seen in Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. So I'm really looking forward to this, and you should really check it out if you have not checked it out. I think I'll end the video here. And like my father told me when I was 18 years old, get out.